Hey guys, Captain here, and Lego Windfall Island is finally complete. So I'm going to talk about the choices I made for the design as well as the design process, especially for those of you who didn't watch the update videos since the beginning. So let's get started. First thing I did was I tried to find a few reference pictures, and this was the best one I found, and then the main one I used. And it gave me a good shape for the outline of the island, and I pretty much followed it with this orientation of the picture. There were points where I realized maybe if I oriented it like this, it would come with certain conveniences. Some of the curves in the town were a lot of trouble to make. The terrain, not so much. But if I had rotated by maybe, what's this, like 60 degrees or so, then I would have had an easier time doing certain things. And I'd have certain advantages because the dock could be straight. I managed to figure that out completely fine, but this path could be straight, this could be nearly straight, and so I still would have had to work with certain curves in the town. I don't know if it would have been easier or harder, but there were certain advantages to doing it that way. And again, since I built the town last and the terrain wasn't that hard, I just went with the orientation that I had in my reference image. And as you can see, if I lift it up, perhaps I'll pick up the camera for kind of a bird's eye view. As you can see, it's pretty close. I made a perimeter to start out with, and then I kind of had to adjust it at a few points, mostly in the town around this curve primarily, and a little bit over here as well. But it still stayed pretty true to my original, especially in this area. I think I did a really good job with the dock and the terrain, the grassy terrain over here. So I did recolor the dock from brown to dark tan at the last step, and what that allowed me to do was make it really differentiate itself from the rock. And I did actually keep a brown like underlayer in there. I'm pretty sure even after I used some here, I had the pieces to make it completely tan, or dark tan rather. But I decided it actually looks a little nicer if I go for an effect where there's some darker coloring underneath, so it looks like that part of the dock is kind of wet and dark because of it. I realized some of the dock is made of stone, but some of it's also made of wood, so I just rolled with it. Also, at the end of the day, that's not a very visible portion of it. It gives the dock some nice depth to have it in a darker color below, but ultimately it's not something you really notice until you start looking closely anyway. The water, I should mention, because I haven't really talked about it for a long time. It's a water technique I've shown off before, and it's a very simple technique. You basically just take, I took a bunch of plates in, I think this color is medium azure, not 100% sure. I think it's medium azure. And I took a bunch of translucent blue plates, translucent light blue plates, and I just tiled semi-randomly. I did try to do certain things because first I tried a pattern where I basically just went in big spirals, and that created a lot of warping on the corners, which was a little strange. So I tried to basically redo all of it to give it a more organic look, which at the end of the day I'm more satisfied with. But there was still a little warping, so what I did is I kind of rigged the corners so they're in 8x8 chunks. I kind of peeled up the last one, or the other one a moment ago. But this really reduces warping, and as you can see, it's pretty much flat. It's just a little elevated here, because I guess it's like pressure from the plates, I don't know, connecting the studs and pulling up on the edges. I don't exactly know the physics behind it, but anyway, I don't have that problem anymore now that I rigged the corners. And unless you kind of peel up the design yourself or really look carefully, you don't really notice that I actually have sections that are kind of meant to be disattachable. And then I did add a bunch of translucent 1x1 plates along some of the coasts. There are some spots where it would have simply been impossible for me to tile it adequately. And maybe if I had pulled up all the translucent plates, I could have reduced this by a bunch. But it creates a nice kind of seafoam effect. And especially along this coastline, I think it looks really nice. I kind of went for the foam that you can see right here in the picture from the waves. But it's evident in a few other spots, like right over here. I don't know if you can see that well on camera because it blends right in with the blue. But that's how I designed the water. Like I said, the terrain here was pretty much the first thing, and so a lot of this was just me sitting on some kind of rock or a ledge or whatever position and just using the free camera mode in Wind Waker and then painstakingly trying to put pieces in their rightful place. So I spent a lot of time, for example, standing like a ride about here in the game and just looking over here, or standing on this beach and looking over here, trying to get the height on this just right. And I think this portion actually turned out quite nicely. I'm pretty happy with the bomb shop. Now I did mention at some point I could have used a 3x2 plate with the rounded edge at some point, but as it turns out, getting those in white is actually really surprisingly difficult because I guess they haven't been available in a set for like 15 years. And there weren't many available on Bricklink, and those that were pretty expensive. Plus, I realized that I would need to somehow rig this portion right here so I could actually get the stud down. So it was a lot of work looking at me, that I was looking at, and maybe I would just be throwing away some money to get some of these expensive pieces and not even use them. So I ended up not doing that, and I'm still happy with how the bomb shop turned out. Now the way I built trees, I just took a brown cone and 2 green cones. Some of them maybe I could have made a little shorter, and I'm sure there are nicer tree designs I could have gone with as well, but I think this gets the job done really well. I think it's really evident that they're trees, and they resemble the Wind Waker trees pretty well. Let's see, right here we've got a little mailbox in red. It's just a stud and a red tile on it. I gotta add the nice touches. There are no figures on this island, but I figured I'd put in the post box. As for this grave right here, it's just a gray stud, but I don't know if there was really like a better way for me to do it without using some kind of illegal connection. I don't really know. Maybe I should have used 2 gray studs. I could, I suppose, still change it now. And then that's one thing. I made a point not to use any illegal connections, as far as I remember. This is all like securely held together and stuff that would be valid enough for a Lego set. So like, it would have been nice to have like a little fence here. I could have taken a tile and just set it upright. See if I have a 1x2 on hand. Well, this is a 1x4, but I could have just done this. But I decided against it because I wanted to keep the connections all legal. So I suppose let's explore town. Oh yeah, these little platforms and islands. I tried my best to recreate them. It's like 2 rocks and a little small platform. Bushes as well. I used little slopes for. And then the gate to town, it actually ended up being a lot shorter than I anticipated. It pretty much, it was originally going to be like a full brick taller, and then I realized that's just simply too tall. And even looking at it in the game, I kind of overestimated its height from my reference picture. It's not all that tall in the game. Now ideally, I could have had the path be the same level as this dock right here, but that's kind of an impossibility of the design unless I, really started doing wacky stuff with the curves and making this longer, and then it could have been a mess. Maybe it was feasible, but it could have been a mess. So I'm going to zoom in on town a bit so we can kind of get a better idea of what I'm talking about. Right here, this building that has the gate on it, this is on a turntable, and based on sets that I own, I should have a white turntable somewhere, but I couldn't find it, and I wasn't about to do like an especially thorough search. I'll just probably get another one at some other point in time. It's not very noticeable, but that should be white, or I don't think they make tan turntables, so I guess that's kind of out of the question. But the way I built this wall was, I think, pretty neat. It's not like a perfect curve. And some of the heights are a little weird because this should be taller, and this little bridge should kind of slope downwards a bit. But you know, I tried to do what I could do, and so this building. Let me try and pull it out without messing up the terrain. It's in there pretty tight. Okay, well, we messed up a little bit of the terrain. But basically, it's on this turntable, and I've got a Technic brick, a 1x2 Technic brick with the one centered hole, and then 3 1x1 Technic bricks going sideways. I was originally going to use headlights and then realized Technic bricks look even better. And so that kind of represents the bridge. If you look at it, it's got like windows all along. And then this is a technique I used one other part of the town as well. I took a Technic brick and I put like a slope on it. Here I also have a plate, but I put a slope on it, and so that let me get the edge with this little bridge piece just fine. Let me toss this back into place. There we go. It fits pretty tight. I think the math works out all right. Maybe I'm kind of squeezing things. I don't really know. And then behind it, we've got that little walkway up to it, right next to the windmill, which I'll get to. But anyway, for the rest of town, this building was very simple. I made roofs just by having some plates stick out, and then that's pretty much it. And then for buildings that had windows, I think there was one where I should have given it a window, but maybe didn't, or maybe I was unable to. I'm not quite sure. But either way, I would just use a Technic brick. And then this building has another Technic brick with an inverse slope sticking out of it, and that's so that the Technic bricks on the little bridge can kind of go right to where I want them, right there. And right here I used the same technique with the Technic brick and a cheese slope. This house is just held in place on a jumper plate, and it fits great because I got to adjust the angle with the liberty of it being on a jumper plate. The center of the 2x2 brick is on the actual jumper itself. Now this path back here, this little dock, ideally would have been kind of like at this angle. That's something I really didn't want to finagle with again, but I did get the opportunity to recolor it in dark tan. It might not be too visible because of the lighting. This thing's kind of casting a shadow on it, but this is in dark tan. So I think the path turned out alright. This right here is pretty much the biggest flaw on the island, and basically, ideally everything would kind of be curved a little more this way, especially with at least the dock would, and then this building wouldn't be so out of place. And also this building is kind of on a curve as well, so but you know, sometimes it's really hard to manufacture, so I had to kind of use some straight lines and sort of pretend. So we've got this little bit of a gap here, unfortunately. In the game, this fence touches almost exactly to here. In fact, this white piece might even be part of that fence in the actual game. But how it worked out is I couldn't find a good way to do that without having to redo pretty much all of this island. So I decided against it in the end. The shop is nothing too special. It's got a little staircase up here that leads to the cafe, and it does have a little the merchant's desk is visible, sort of. One thing you may have noticed is the way I built the roofs is I pretty much alternated olive green and reddish brown cheese slopes, because most of the roofs are kind of mossy. So all the mossy roofs have that pattern for them, and I think it turned out really nicely. It was like the simplest solution I could come up with. I just used cheese slopes, even though most of them are kind of not really cones, but most of them are pyramids. I kind of just decided not to try and find some crazy way to do that, because whatever I had come up with looked worse than just using a bunch of cheese slopes. So I stuck with this. This is that little platform that there's a bench on. There's a man always sitting there, and I kind of had to change the terrain up here a little bit. It protrudes a little more here than maybe it does in the actual game, but it still protrudes quite a bit in the game, so I think that's all right. Now these next few buildings, you can see a little bit on the windmill and on the Picto Box shop, which I think is also part of the school. I don't quite remember. Maybe it's just the Picto Box shop. But anyway, I ended up going with the medium dark flesh masonry bricks. Originally I used red, and after putting these in, I kind of thought maybe I should switch back to red. Then I looked at it in the game, and it's like maybe just a little redder than this. So maybe like dark orange would have been ideal, but I think overall it turned out nice. So I'm sticking with it. The reason I would consider switching back to red is because a lot of the colors in Wind Waker are really nice and vibrant, and I think red would have captured that pretty well. But that's alright. Now I've just got another building up here. It's pretty much the same idea as the building we saw on the other side of town. But as for the windmill, let's take a look at that. Now the windmill's got a carousel in the back, and I would have loved if this little piece right here came in brown, but it doesn't exist. So dark gray it is. And then I added something myself. I added a rod. Seems these got bent up just a little bit, but I added a rod so you can spin the windmill, because I thought that was fun. And then there's like the platform so you can actually get on the windmill carousel. That's right here. And that's kind of maybe shakily put together. I don't know. It's pretty much just a bunch of dark tan plates, because the actual platform itself is sort of just a small catwalk, and that's about it. So I figured that was good enough. And I think that concludes everything with Windfall Island then. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please rate, comment, subscribe. Send this to your friends. Check out my other ones. And I will see you guys next time.